welcome to the very last workshop in the summer series of the I Can't workshops with the Center for Creativity. My name is Anina Collier. I'm the Dean of the Center for Creativity. Whether you're here in person or watching online, we're super glad you're here. And if you stuck around from the beadwork workshop, I'm sorry, you'll have to hear just a little bit of the same stuff. But we're so glad that you're here. This is going to be a really fun and accessible workshop, an easy one to follow along with at home if you are not with us in the building. If you are, the restrooms are right down this hallway. There's a gender-neutral restroom down that hallway, and then we also have water fountain and filling station right in that foyer where you came in. So our workshop today is with Living Arts. They're an amazing partner for us right over here in the Arts District, and Candace White is our presenter. So help me give a big round of applause and welcome Candace White.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. Okay, I'm going to be walking you through my drawing style today. It's a non-technical, kind of unorthodox way of approaching drawing. I like to use a lot of color. These are some examples of some drawings of animals that I like to do. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how I outline and then fill in different shapes and designs with lots and lots of color. I find it a more kind of interesting way to approach drawing. So let's get started. I think everybody's chosen a reference. You can pull something up off your phone or choose from one of mine. When choosing something to draw, I really look for stuff with interesting shapes and some really clearly defined highlights, middle tones, and dark tones, because that's kind of how the shape of the animal will really be defined, and that's why it works to use a lot of different colors. So I think we'll have time to go through a couple today. Start with sort of a light color. We're going to be identifying the light spaces, the middle tones, and the darker spaces today. And again, I encourage you to have fun with color. Don't get too attached to the colors that you might see in the, can we turn it on?
Well, it's hard to see the screen.
Oh, okay, all right. Sure. Yeah, don't get too attached to the color scheme that you see in the image itself, because really we're just going to be working with lights, midtones, and darks. So I usually like to start out with kind of an anchor point in the drawing. So for this octopus, I really like this picture because it looks like he's just having a great day. I'm going to start with this line that I can see where his eyes are, and then I'm going to kind of build out the rest of the octopus from there, and that'll give me kind of a reference for the size and angle of the different shapes. So I've just done that line there, and I can see there's sort of a shape outlining the kind of highlighted color, and I'm just going to really lightly put that in. So all of your initial sketch should be really, really light. And then I've got kind of an arc here. I don't know what to call this. I think some technical artists will like learn the musculature of different animals and like really get technical with it. I just like to work with relative shapes and sizes. So relative to the eye, the mantle is about this big, and I can see a big oval shape there. I don't know what part of the octopus that is. And a line there that's defining one of the arms. I'm going to stop with the arms right there because there's some crazy stuff going on. And then here there's like a sharp 180 where there's another arm. So just sort of like building it out little by little, and I'm going to go back in with different colors after I do that. So I can see this line here comes all the way up and kind of bisects these other lines. So I'm just going to put that in there. Can you still see? Okay, good. And I often don't use an eraser. I'm happy to have a lot of different lines going in a lot of different directions, especially because when we go back in with color and fill in the different shapes, you really won't notice those lines. So this arm goes a little bit further than that last one. The great thing about drawing an octopus is that they're really, arms could be going at any angle. You can't really get it wrong. So if you chose an octopus, you're in luck. I will do a different animal next so you can see what that's like too. There we go. So I've got kind of the basic outline of where things are in this drawing in my reference. And now I'm going to go back in with a light. Always start with your lightest color. And then we're going to do midtones and dark after that. Because if we kind of go crazy with the light color, then the mids and the darks will cover it up, but not the other way around. So if we go in with dark, we can't kind of put a lighter tone on top of it if we wanted to later. So we'll start with light. Obviously, in this picture, the eye space has the lightest color, so I'm just going to fill that in. There's a light here. I really like just kind of filling in the shapes as I see them and not worrying too much about the details yet, because we'll fill those in later with a darker color. Another great thing about a lawless style of drawing is that you can kind of make up things that you don't see. So it's not particularly light right at the bottom of these arms, but I think it'll be more interesting to have an even distribution of this chartreuse color. So I'm going to use a little bit more of it. And there's some light spots here. I think going fast too has its merits because you don't kind of overthink the shapes. You just sort of color in the spaces. And then you can go back and adjust them later. So that's a dark space. And there's some light there. And there's some light here. And I see there's all these spots and things. I'm just going to fill that in with light, and then when I go back in with a darker color, I'm going to kind of make some circle shapes that will define that the way I want. Okay, light, good. Let's see. You have some colored pencils provided by Living Arts. If you leave here desperate to do more drawing in this style, I would recommend Prismacolor colored pencils. These are just buttery, smooth, vibrant. I can't get enough of them. Highly recommend. That's another light color. I use pink a lot, as you can tell. I think I'm going to go with this purple for my darker shapes, but first we're going to go in and do some midtones. So I'm going to use these two midtones and maybe a little bit of turquoise as well. And midtones can sort of just like fill in the rest of the space, but in my kind of preferred drawing style, we'll use a couple of different midtones and spread it out to make it more interesting. So we're going to use some different colors in different parts of the drawing. Just for interest, just for fun. And kind of the theory behind why it works to just use whatever color you want is because anything you see, any image, is just made up of lights and shadows. And so these lights can be any color, and the shadows can be any color, and any of the tones in between are the same. So we can represent those lights and shadows, those shapes, in whatever color we want. So this shape down here is going to be my darkest area, so I'll do that next. At a certain point in the drawing process, you can kind of ditch your reference when it looks enough like the thing that you want it to look like, that you can just kind of go rogue. And I feel like I'm not quite there, but getting close. There we go. I'll make that a little bit higher up. So this is going to be just a little bit darker than the mid-tone that I was using, and then I'm going to use this one to really go nuts. Yeah, that red-orange looks really good, but I'm just going to use it to kind of outline. See how it shows up against the light orange, but just a little bit? So this is good for more subtle line work, although subtle isn't really something that I do in my drawings. So I'm just going to use this a little bit. And I think I'm just going to dive in and find some darker shapes. So this octopus has an eye. I'm going to outline that really quick. There's really nothing else going on over there. The darker ones look really good when you do some line work after you've kind of made some shapes in a lighter color. I think it looks very striking to go in with a darker color and just kind of do a little bit of fine detail work in that darker color. So this purple is going to be my shadow between these arms, and it's going to be that dark shape right there. There's some other kind of like texture that I can define, and a little bit of texture in between those shapes there. I think compared to technical drawing, it's a little bit of a lazier method, but I like the way it turns out, so I don't mind it. That's sort of like an in-between space right there. Those are really dark. I think this method also works if you're not very tied to having an extremely accurate drawing of an animal, and you're happy to just see how it looks if you use a different color scheme. So all of these arms are pretty dark. I'm just going to give each one of them at least one side that's in this purple dark color. So in your drawings, find the shadow areas, find the shapes that are the darkest, and kind of just fill those in with your dark tone, whatever it may be. Purple, dark blue, dark green. I feel like this could use just a little bit more interest, a little more texture. So I'm going to use this dark blue to start making these spots. I think they're spots and not tentacles on the octopus. But so this light space has some spots. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I'll just go from one color to the next and not really think very much about it, and then decide later what worked and what didn't. And it's very freeing. So there's some spots happening over here. If your animal is looking kind of wonky, embrace it. I like wonky looking animals. And sometimes if it doesn't feel like there's enough contrast, I will just go with black. We do have a pencil sharpener if you feel like your pencils are not sharp enough. I just use a little hand sharpener for mine, but I think we've got one plugged in somewhere. Actually, I don't know where it went. So sometimes I'll go in with black and just do like the darkest details or some spaces in black, because black usually will show up very, very well against any color on top of whatever you're doing. And sometimes it's nice to have that outline. I think it just makes a little extra pop in the overall drawing. But then I also would recommend using it sparingly. So you don't overdo it and lose all the color. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm going to start on another one. How's everybody's drawings going? Yeah, that happens. Okay, octopus is going to
So
live
Candace,
up here.
if somebody is frustrated and it's just I heard somebody say awful. What words of advice or what's something, a simple step someone can take to feel more empowered about their drawing?
I feel like it's perfectly fine to start over. As I said earlier, I don't usually erase. I think maybe taking some time to kind of like work on the angles and just sort of see which one feels better, and then go a little bit darker with the angled line that fits best. As I said, also embracing a wonky looking animal I think is pretty fun. I've gotten them wrong before. If you're really struggling with proportions and ratios in the animal, you can use a ruler. I often don't do that because I'm lazy and I prefer to eyeball things, but you can use a ruler and see how what the kind of like relative length is, like from the tip of the octopus's head to the furthest tentacle is 4, and then from the top to the bottom is about 3, and then kind of seeing if that ratio matches your drawing. I once completely bombed a drawing of an owl, the one that I wanted to use for my lino cut, and the head was much, much bigger than the wings. And I kind of could tell by looking, but when I got out the ruler and measured the drawing against my drawing, or the reference image against my drawing, I could see exactly what was too big and what was too small. And just erased and started over. I think if you enjoy drawing, then keeping at it is really the the only way to improve those skills. Yeah. If you finish one drawing, then feel free to choose another reference and start on another one. I'm going to use the same method I did before and just sort of start at an anchor point. I like to start kind of somewhere in the middle, kind of make the initial light drawing, and then go back with some different colors. I think seeing the difference between making a line fast and making a line slow is an interesting way to think about your drawing process. I don't like moving slowly. I don't like going back, so I kind of try to just blast through my work. And then if it's really, truly awful, I'll start over. I also won't completely finish a sketch before starting in on the color, because I think the color is the more interesting part, and it's the part that'll start to define the thing that I want to define. I want a lighter light for this. I think starting with lights is also really important, as I said, because you can go back and cover it up, whereas with mediums and darks, it's much harder to cover up. So this light blue will be easy to cover with something else, like a turquoise or whatever I choose for the dark color. I think another thing that is encouraging is thinking about your own drawing style. I used to get frustrated that my work didn't look exactly like the pictures or exactly like what I was trying to draw, but I care much less about that now because I like the style that I've developed, and I think it looks good enough. If we want a perfect rendering of an image, then we can take a photo. I hope that's encouraging. Sometimes I will also just get very bored halfway through and want to do something else. But I think it's worth kind of throwing some color in there and just seeing what can happen. Maybe some pink antlers will motivate me. Maybe that'll do it. Actually, this color would look great. I like drawing deer in particular because the antlers are such interesting shapes and because you can use a completely different color scheme with them and it kind of feels right, feels like they should be different. I think also the texture of the table, I don't know if you guys have a similar table, but the texture of the table will have an impact on your drawing. I'm getting a lot of kind of bumpy texture that I'm not used to because I don't get that in my sketchbook. So you can put some extra paper under your paper if that's bothering you. Or some people like the different texture. Sometimes building out an animal a little bit more, giving it a little bit of context helps if it's not looking quite like you want it to look. Changing up your color scheme midway can help. I do think the most interesting part of this technique is starting with different shapes and different colors and then going in and adding little details in a darker tone and just seeing how vibrant and how much that can make the image just pop and look kind of exciting and different. Really define the animal a little bit more. Normally I wouldn't go in and do black first, but I'm trying to salvage this this drawing. It's not going the way I wanted it to exactly, but that's all right. I like it a little bit better now. think creating kind of a sense of randomness and chaos is actually a lot more difficult than you would think, while still kind of maintaining the shape and vibe of a certain animal. But that's sort of what we're going for in this drawing style. I don't know what she did with it. Oh, that's it. Oh, really? Is it plugged in? Is it? It is plugged in? Oh, really? I've got a couple here that should work. If you want to use one of those, you can just sharpen it into that cup. Do you also need one? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I use this. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I kind of see how everybody's work is going. Nice. Oh, wow. Nice one, Esther. These are great. Yeah. Awesome. These look good. Cool. Don't be afraid of black. If there's some black on your tables, I think that really makes the darks pop out. I wonder why that sharpener isn't working. There's some more colored pencils up here if you want a color that isn't at your table. And like I said, if you really enjoy this method, enjoy using colored pencils, I would recommend getting some good ones. Prismacolor is a good brand. Caran d'Ache is a good brand. Faber-Castell. And then, of course, good paper. Let's try one more. Let's do an armadillo. I've gone through a number of phases with favorite animals that I like to draw. My deer phase was last year. Just finished up an armadillo phase, and now I'm well into my octopus phase. So if you're wondering why there's a lot of only a few certain types of animals, that's why. Those are the ones I print off. Let's see what we can do with this guy. There we go.
It's really hard to follow my photo once I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of lines
Uh-huh,
in mine that
uh-huh.
intersect and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I lost track of which line I was working.
Yeah, yeah. What animal are you doing?
I'm sorry.
What kind of animal is it? What are you drawing?
It's actually a carrot patch.
Oh, lovely. Oh, yeah, I can see how that would get challenging. Yeah, possibly. I think same principles apply. Let's see, we're gonna start with the light colors. The ear has a light color. There's a very light color up here. If you do have a drawing with lots of lines and lots of fine details that's intimidating, I kind of tend to put that stuff off until a little bit later in the drawing and leave that for the darker shadowed details. I think kind of filling in shapes first and then worrying about the details later tends to work pretty well for me. Yeah, a couple of these guys, yeah. Yeah, we brought an electric one, but it doesn't work, sadly. Yeah. So there's a little bit of dark on his head. There's some dark space in between. That's how mine used to look. You got to start somewhere. A lot of practice. But I like little kid work too. It's all in what kind of stuff you like. Oh. Yeah, it's a whole kind of different thing for your brain to tackle if you're not used to it. All that space stuff, yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of going fast because I get real bored real fast if I don't. I just try to see the dark and light real quick and put it in there. Yeah. Again, it's okay to have a stylized or minimalist animal. There's so many different styles. And they're so cool, so don't sweat if yours doesn't look exactly how you planned. Enjoy how it turned out instead.
So we have a few minutes together left, and I would love to hear, Candace, can you tell us a little bit more about Living Arts and what's going on there?
Yeah, Living Arts has their 50th anniversary celebration and exhibit coming up. It'll be up for 2 months. I think it's starting next month. There are also a number of summer camps coming up at Living Arts in July. I'll be teaching a couple of them. So if you know some young people that need something to do, I'm not sure they might be full already. Yeah. And then, of course, Day of the Dead in November, I think. But
that's one of the big
Yeah.
community-wide celebrations. So while you finish your drawing, and I apologize if you already heard this at the first workshop, I wanted all of you to know that we are holding an open call for artists for our upcoming art exhibition, Please Touch the Art. It's just like it sounds. Every single work in the exhibition will be available to be experienced through touch, but also through the other 5 senses. So this is for artists working in all media, and if your work is accepted and we will exhibit it, you'll receive a $150 honorarium. And that you can find out more on our website, centerforcreativitytulsa.com, and you can find the online submission form and submit through that way. The deadline is July 15th, so there's just a couple weeks left to get your artwork in. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you, hopefully Tulsa Achieves is on your radar. This is a national model for free college for a whole community. So if you are a young person who is graduating from a Tulsa county high school, whether public, private, or homeschool, and you have a 2.0 GPA, you can automatically go to Tulsa Community College for free for 2 years. This is an incredible opportunity to get a free associate's degree that will easily transfer to a 4-year institution. So make sure, if you have a young person in your life, make sure they know about this. There are these brochures in English and Spanish. They're on the back table. Let's see, any questions for Candace? Oh, yes, adult classes at Living Arts, are those?
Not at the moment, but I think we're open to setting up something like that. Yeah, I am planning on hosting a workshop for lino cut printing in November, but that's very different from this, and pretty far away. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And so if Living Arts is not offering adult classes, I'll share that one of our other iCamp partners, Waterworks, offers a lot of adult classes. And so, yeah, you know Waterworks. So that would be one to look into as well. Other classes or other questions?
I think the library also sometimes has adult.
Okay,
adult
yeah,
art
that's great. The
class
library also has some adult
throughout
classes,
the year.
drawing classes. All right. Well, we'll encourage you to take the last 5 minutes or so to finish up your drawing. Please leave the colored pencils and any unused paper. Prismacolor is the brand of colored pencils that Candace recommended if you want to do more drawing at home. And we will miss you guys. I'm sad this is the last workshop for the summer, but we will start in September with all kinds of programming. So definitely keep an eye on your email and our Facebook page, and plan to come back often throughout the fall and spring. And survive the rest of this summer, you guys. We're in for a doozy. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, great question. So the question was, can you watch videos of previous I Can't workshops? And the answer is yes. If you go to our YouTube page, which is, oh my gosh, I think it's the Creativity channel. If you Google something like that, it'll come up. But you can also find it through our Facebook and things like that. So yeah, on YouTube, we have the videos of the live streams of previous workshops. Great question. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll miss you. See you in the fall.